guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. This reading vlog I'm super excited about for a variety of reasons. One, I am going to be reading two books I think have a strong chance of making my favorite books of the year, which always feels good, especially because I feel like the countdown is on. The end of the year is almost here. And two, we are officially putting up the trees and finishing decorating for the holidays. I've obviously done some holiday decorating, but as you can see from those bins behind me, I've been procrastinating on the last bit and the most fun part, which is the trees. So the trees are going up. I think Clay and I are actually gonna make like a bit of a date night out of it tonight. But without further ado, let's chat about the two books that are on my TBR for this video. Alrighty, so I would say the first book and probably the main book of this vlog is going to be The Spear That Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I've already read 100 pages of this book earlier this year, but I'm actually going to restart it because I don't want anything to impact the reading experience of this, because while I've only read 100 pages, I was obsessed. This book is one of the most unique books structurally I have ever read. It is stunning. So I want to reread it and read the whole thing through this week because I really just have a strong feeling this could be a favorite of the year. But this is a story that celebrates storytelling and the tradition of storytelling through the spoken word, but it recounts a kind of fantasy tale of a god who's been enslaved by a powerful kingdom and his escape. And then the other book that's on my TBR you might recognize from my last vlog, hello Millie, and that is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I read about 150 pages of this in my previous vlog and was really liking it, so I want to just continue to make my way through this book as it is longer, and I just want to make sure I'm continuing to prioritize it so I don't end up with a partially finished book and have to restart it later on. So these are my two books for this vlog and for this TBR. I'm really looking forward to reading both of them. And I'm so excited to document the process of reading these with you guys. It is past 4 p.m. and I think I'm gonna do something I really should not do, and that is I'm gonna make a latte. I really feel like I could use some caffeine. I still got some stuff I need to do. It's a busy time of year and I really want to embrace putting up the trees with Clay later, and I don't want to be too sleepy. So we're gonna have a latte, which I do not endorse this behavior, but I endorse it for myself with this particular consideration in mind, okay? Smiley face. Also, look how cute this mug is. All right, and now it's time to get the espresso shots. I need two hands. Okay. Latte is done, though I would say I over frothed the milk. It's kind of like a cappuccino mixed with a latte. So I apologize to coffee purists in advance, but that's good. Oh, also while I have you here, I'm really loving my outfit today. And I realized, okay, does anyone else have this thing when it starts to get cold, like it changes their glasses eyewear? So I got these with the sponsorship a while ago. These are called the Box from Glasses USA, and I will have these linked in my typical glasses link down below because I do still have my limited time offer, but I got these a while ago. These are part of the Save the Tortoise collection, which is cool because a part of the proceeds are donated to charity. But they're just so like over the top and big, and there's something about like this big like 80s frame with the turtleneck of like an oversized sweater. I feel like I'm a movie extra. And I love it. So anyway, I'm just really excited to be wearing these glasses, even though Clay makes fun of me. But you know what? He doesn't always get everything, you know what I mean? But now that I have my cappuccino latte, I'm actually gonna sit down right now with my cozy blanket and start rereading The Spear That Cuts Through Water. I'm actually so excited because my friend Max is reading it at the same time, and I want to be able to text him about it. So the timing is great. The timing is great. Hello, Millie. Hello. I have read a quick 40 pages of this book, and I feel like this book is even better the second time around. For the part that I've already read, this reading experience is truly like nothing I've ever read before. To try to put it into words, it's basically like a layered story. We are reading and experiencing the story from different places through different characters' eyes, and everything is sort of blending and meshing together in what can only be described as like completely immersive. But the book opens up as our main character, and he is sitting in the kitchen of his grandmother, and his grandmother is beginning to tell him a story of both his people, but also a story of this mythical and like magical theater in which people can like go to for one day and then forget all about it. This experience then blends into our main character arriving at this theater, being an audience of this theater, watching the story unfold. But then the story then blends again, and our main character is now telling the story. And then we also experience the story itself, and this sort of intermeshing of who we are reading from, who our main character is, and even who is the narrator to the story is constantly changing and folding in on itself constantly. And it just creates such a sumptuous, immersive reading experience. I will also say this is a book I am reading, but the experience of reading it is somehow still very oratory, which is the nature of how this story is supposed to be told. Our main character is listening to the story from his grandmother. He's listening to the story from people on stage. He is telling the story to an audience too. And somehow the author is able to capture that sensation of listening and like also the visual nature of it and the sounds and like shifting in and out of all these different locations. It's just so intoxicating. And that is just to describe the story experience. There is a story itself in terms of like what I'm reading and experience, but like structurally how this book is written is unreal. The story itself, I've only barely scratched the surface of, but we jump around a lot from characters, but it's basically set in this land that is ruled by an emperor and also ruled by his three sons called the Terrors. And at the beginning of this book, the emperor is about to go on this journey to find immortality. And you also quickly get the sense that this kingdom is not only like teetering on the edge of something. All the people living there are overworked, they're starving, they're struggling, but the emperor and the rich are living in excess, and they're also incredibly violent, and they use fear to control things, and they also have access to power, but where is this power from? And we are told also at the beginning of this book that we're going to watch the end of this kingdom, but we need to start at the beginning, which is the death of the emperor's pet bird. And it's just so good, and I just need to emphasize that. I haven't even read very much. I've read 100 pages of this book before, but I'm so glad I restarted and started rereading it, because this book also doesn't have chapters. It has like emphasis words, and like those emphasis words sort of shift us to a new place, but it just has like a cadence to it. It's just on another planet. It's on another planet in the way it's just so good. So anyway, I've read 40 pages. I'm gonna make dinner now, I think. I'm making a recipe from a cookbook I recently picked up, which I'm so excited about. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I'm for sure gonna be doing more reading later on because I have so much of this book left to experience. But wow, 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 wow. This is the recipe I'm cooking today, and it looks so good. So we're gonna get cooking. It's time to get chopping. Here is the pasta basically done. I'm just gonna add some lemon juice and top with some ricotta. So yummy. And dinner is served. It looks so good. Clay and I decided to do the tree tomorrow, but we did start Lupin, which is a very good French show on Netflix. Even Matilda's a fan. Hello everyone, good morning. Hold on, look at my festive PJs. 'Tis the season, am I right? But I wanted to do a reading update before I go get dressed and do the various things I need to do today, because I have read 120 pages of this book. I've officially surpassed where I had read previously, and I'm just liking this book so much. Outside of just being like mesmerized in how this book is written, the plot is also very, very intriguing and actually incredibly intense and brutal, if I'm being honest, because we're learning the tale of not only our main character's family, but it's kind of like a flashpoint to the end of an empire in the old country. And it's a tale of the moon goddess escaping her imprisonment by the hands of this like evil emperor and his sons, and then their eventual pursuit of the moon goddess like throughout the entire lands. We follow the moon goddess as she's traveling with 2 men so far. Other people have like entered and left the stage too, which is just so interesting. And this chase is really intense, and there's also still like so much mystery surrounding so many different things, like character motivations, who, what, where we are. Like I'm learning and experiencing this landscape for the first time as we're like rushing through different locations. We're also getting even further a sense of like how cruel this empire even is. And it's just like, it's just a ride, you know what I mean? But outside of our main character, who is set kind of in this like vague turn of the century setting, who is telling the story, being told the story, and experiencing the story within the theater itself, our main character in the quest-centered story is Kima. He basically takes an oath to like bring something to a far reaches of the kingdom, and he basically gets wrapped up in this quest with the moon goddess. And then there's another figure, again traveling with the moon goddess, and he wears a mask, and he kind of has mysterious origins as well and motivations. And that's kind of all I really know right now. I'm just kind of seeing and learning things as they unfold, and it's just such a mesmerizing reading experience. But I plan to definitely read more today, but I have a lot of other stuff I need to do first, but this will act as the perfect motivation to get me through, because it's just so good. It's just so good. You know, when you just restart reading a book, you're like, this is probably gonna be a 5-star read. That's how I feel about this book. It's dark out. Thank you, daylight savings. But the good news is, I finished up work today, and I'm gonna sit down and do a spot of reading. But then tonight, Clay and I are officially tackling putting up the Christmas trees, which I'm looking forward to. I'm also gonna make the same pasta dish as last night, because I'm not gonna lie, it was so flipping good. I can take no credit besides the execution. It's not my recipe, but dang, Molly Baz came in hot with that. So I'm gonna make that again, watch some Christmas movies, but in the meantime, we're sitting and reading. I've read 120 pages, maybe reach page like 150 right now, and then read more before bed. And that should do it, folks. So I'm gonna go read now. And dinner is done. Round 2 of the same pasta, just different pasta shape, because I ran out of the other pasta shape. It's happening, and Matilda is not so thrilled about it, but the tree is going up.
Wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you. You and me in the cold, thought it'd never be true. Wherever I go, I got you. Oh, I have stopped running, there is no way trying. You better loosen your belts. Drinking hot wine by the fire, don't care of anything else. It's Christmas, and some kind of love, my friend. I'll pray it will never end. Do you like to be here too? It's Christmas, and outside snow's glistening. It's just you and me tonight. I'll spend all this Christmas with you. Oh, it's such a charm, got you up in my arm. There's nobody at the door. You said I wish this will never be over. Darling, it's time for your present, come over here. Now it is time to get out in the snow, lighting a light with you. Choirs will sing and the joy bells will ring.
Christmas tree is up. We watched an episode of Lupin. And now I'm gonna get back to reading. Hi everyone, good morning. I've just been sitting here reading and I'm happy to report I'm about 50% of the way through The Spear That Cuts Through Water, and this book is just so good. I feel pretty certain this is gonna make one of my favorite books of the year, just between the writing style, the structure, how incredibly immersive and just riveting the story itself is. Like, it's doing so many things so successfully and also in a way that I've simply never encountered before. I'm halfway through and I have to say, like, the plot itself is so riveting and it's a layered narrative experience, but there's like consistent themes across all these narratives. Bravery, love, a desire for like family and belonging, heartbreak, devastation. All of these things are consistent no matter the character you're reading from, even characters that you literally just get like a sentence of their perspective, a fleeting moment with them, they still kind of are a part of this like tapestry of experience, no matter the time, no matter the place. With that in mind though, there are definitely main narrative elements. One feels like a true quest, and that is, again, we're following our two main characters, two young men traveling with and trying to transport a god, a powerful divine entity who has immense power, to a faraway location. One is Kima, one is June, and they kind of have like a begrudging relationship that is beginning to form. The actual journey itself is a rather condensed experience. The book doesn't really have chapters, but it has sections organized by like day. And you see them have to overcome and work through like various situations. They also begin slowly to have like a deeper understanding of one another, trust one another, and begin to rely on one another. They both have complicated pasts, often that they are not necessarily immediately honest about, but they're kind of processing those emotions. And the plot itself is riveting because obviously they're transporting this divine entity, but there is change, there is violence in the air. So long this land, this old country, has been controlled by this powerful emperor and the terrible sons who maintain and control the power of this land, which again they're taking from the goddess of the moon. And the people of the land have clearly been working and waiting for the perfect opportunity to rise up. And you sort of see the echoes of that in different situations. And while our two main characters aren't necessarily heading this rebellion, they get pulled in and they meet up with like different groups of people, and then we get a visual and like other things that are happening. And keep in mind, the perspectives we're reading from are varied and very, very wide. So we are also kind of jumping all over the place in this land too. And this happens alongside and is reminiscent in ways to the sort of setting that we're reading from our narrator. And again, the structure of the story and who's telling the story is constantly shifting, but we are often with our main character who initially was told all of these stories by his grandmother. We get a sense of his home life, the complicated nature of his relationship with his father. He has a lot of brothers, this sort of picture of tragic, like toxic masculinity. They're also clearly living in a time of war and conflict. They're also away from their homeland. These stories are rooted in where they've come from, which is why his grandmother sat him down, told him these stories. And these stories clearly became an important part of his memory of his grandmother, but also a part of his life. And then you see him begin to tell these stories to others, and we're sort of floating in and out of the story itself and then the experience of his life and the experience of telling these stories. And it constantly just feels connected, this feeling of humanity, and also just the feeling of how important these stories are to continue to tell and pass on. And that's kind of where I am. I'm in the midst of like a literal rebellion and very intense quest that has like a day countdown, where I'm so nervous about our characters being able to succeed in this so they can survive and ultimately live a life that they would want to live. And this is a world of magic and curses and gifts and all of those things too. And then we kind of have like a present day non-magical reality. I'm just like riveted by the plot. I'm fascinated by the writing. I'm just completely swept away by the entire experience. 50% of the way through, I'm gonna keep reading. I only have positive things to say, clearly. Which comprised of some store-bought tomato soup and some frozen biscuits. Hello, I'm in a red cardigan today. Ain't she cute? I've just been working and the sun's still out actually. So I thought I was gonna take a break and go sit in the backyard because the weather's actually really nice. So I'm gonna do some reading of The Spear That Cuts Through Water. I'm 50% through at this moment in time, and read a little bit more, and then I think Claire and I are gonna have a bit of a walk. Then I'm gonna make dinner and watch Outlander tonight. My tree, I love the visual of my tree. Let me show it off one more time. Look at her. Ignore the mess. There's Matilda. But let's go out in the backyard and do some reading. Matilda will join me, I'm sure. Hopefully the cushions aren't wet, but only one way to find out. Just two girls hanging out, you know? Casual. In the midst of a Texas summer, I forget how wonderful a Texas fall is because it is beautiful outside. Thriving. My Paper Mario and Outlander pastime continues. Enough Outlander has been watched. I'm now going to do some reading. I also love that this vlog was supposed to feature an entirely, like, a second book, but all my attention has been on The Spear That Cuts Through Water, but we're gonna read more now. It's just so good. It also kind of takes me a little bit to read because I really like to pay attention to every single word. You know what I mean? Hello. We have skipped a large part of this day, but I've just been working. But I'm going to sit down and wrap actually some of Clay's Christmas presents because I have a minute to do it. And I had a lot of really exciting wrapping paper come in. And I personally love wrapping presents, and I want to get these under the tree before you can find them anyway. Do you like how I'm reusing one of my tea gift boxes? So anyway, I'm gonna wrap these now. Don't judge my wrapping skills too much. And enjoy my cup of coffee.
What a feeling, now it's time for Christmas. And Christmas is my favorite time of year. It's beginning to look like all my wishes are coming true, that's why I cheer. I've been busy decking the halls, I've been kind to big and small, and now it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling when it's time for Christmas.
I'm lying in my unmade bed. I put the faux fireplace on, I wrapped up work for the day, and I was gonna sit down and read more because I've made such excellent progress on The Spear That Cuts Through Water. But I've realized I definitely owe y'all a reading update because I have not done one today. Great news. This book is still excellent. And I'm truly just enjoying every single page and second of reading this book. Something I specifically want to talk about is just how endeared I am to our main characters, June and Kima. We're introduced to them. We've been following them on this like breakneck journey. They're surrounded by all of these horrifying, astounding things. And one thing I will say about the setting, just the narrative quality of this book, and obviously I've talked a lot about the structure, but the feeling of the story too just has this sense of like myth and folklore. It has the absurd kind of magical elements set in, I guess, what could be interpreted as our world, but it's just a little more otherworldly that makes it feel more like a creation-based story, and just like folklore and myth, it's a foundation to the rest of time after the fact, you know what I mean? But what the author hasn't lost in his like astounding creativity with his writing style and his ability to capture this ethos of a myth story is that the characters also have so much heart, and he's been able to create that, and we are spending a lot of time with them, but we're weaving around so many different things that it's just, I just am so happy how in love I am with everyone. Kima and June as our main characters on this quest root this story. I am just rooting for them to find happiness so much. And there is a love story element of this book too, which I appreciate. Both of them are like kind of haunted by their past. This land was not a kind one, and they're putting it all out on the line to try to create a brighter future, whatever that means. And I also really like how a myth story has this feeling of, again, foundation, and these characters are doing these astounding things, but these characters in this story still feel so much just like young men kind of wrapped up in events that feel larger than themselves, trying their best. They are heroes, they are extraordinary, they are exceptional, but also they feel so normal too. And I love that, and I just love how multifaceted these characters feel within this story, and how rooted I am in their perspectives, and I'm scared for them, I'm rooting for them, and they just they just pull you through the story so well. And even our present day narrator, I'm rooting for him too, for completely different reasons. And it's so interesting to see like how between these epic moments within the story, either telling the story or experiencing the story, there's still these quiet moments of humanity too reflected back on us. And I'm just loving it. So I'm gonna read more. I have no idea how the story and tale is going to end. I feel like I'm constantly like confounded by it, and just like the whole experience of reading this book has just been amazing. And hopefully some of y'all will pick up and read this book. It's a journey, literally a journey. It's a quest, but also just like structurally, it's unlike anything I've ever read before. And I feel like I haven't said that in a minute. It's just so good. So I'm gonna read more now, and then I do have to go to a friend's birthday dinner, which I am looking forward to. We're eating hot wings. And then I'm gonna go bother Clay and see what he's up to, you know? I have not been very effectively vlogging the past couple days. Transparently, it's just been a really busy couple days with work. But I rewarded myself for working. Sweet treats keep me functioning in this world. I got myself a raspberry cream cheese Danish. And this is such a good Danish. It's from this like local bakery. They actually use puff pastry. It's not like soggy at all. It's so good. So I'm gonna sit down and eat that, have a cup of coffee, and I'm actually gonna work on reading more of The Spear That Cuts Through Water, which, by the way, look at this. Look how much I have left. And clearly, based on how much I have left, I very much need to give y'all a reading update. So this book is really good. And now that I'm like gearing into the final act, in so many ways, to be honest, I could not have ever guessed how this book was going to unfurl like throughout it, but the final act is like even brought this to a whole nother level of creativity, just like mind-boggling. The connections, the interweaving of all of these different concepts has been so satisfying. Again, the book structurally is organized by the different days of the quest, and there's this very clear countdown. Like our main characters have to achieve this thing within a certain time frame, and things very much like concretely happen within the story structurally within those days. Like day 3, these sort of things happen, and these events that impact us and push us into the next day, and then we're moving and we're moving and we're moving. So it creates this level of intensity, but also it kind of organizes things in a way that I like. Something else that happens is we obviously have our main characters, Kima and June, whom I adore separately and together, but we do sometimes just get these like offshoot few pages reading from different perspectives of characters, and it's such an interesting experience because you just fall in and slot into their points of views, like for better or for worse, in a way that makes so much sense to the story. It just provides this sort of first-person experience with the character who is significant to either our characters through like promises and connections, or like to the plot itself. And I just really appreciate that narrative choice so much. But oh my gosh, there's a few things that's happened now towards the end. My jaw dropped. It dropped, I tell you. Just like what this author's doing with storytelling, with time, family, and like connections through generations, particularly with storytelling and identity, is just so flippin' good. And I'm just like, I have no idea how this book is going to end, and I've just loved living in this world, living with these characters. I feel so grateful to have read this book because it's just so astounding, and it's such a successful freaking book. You know what I mean? Like, Simon Jimenez is so talented, and I'm gonna be screaming from the rooftops about this book for a long time because it's just like the action, the adventure, the love, the loss. It's a true mythic epic, you know? And I love it. So I'm gonna eat my raspberry Danish. Close up again. Focus on the Danish, not me. There we go. Cup of coffee. I'm gonna finish this book. I'm gonna wrap it up. I might also sneak in a few pages of the Drew Abercrombie book I was also supposed to read this week, but I just got very distracted by The Spear That Cuts Through Water. And that's okay. But I do want to read more Best Served Cold because that book is also so excellent. But I'll just focus on that next week probably. But I'm going to read some. So anyway, Danish book, Best Served Cold, wrap up this vlog. There we are, folks. There we are. All right. What mugs? My favorite mug currently is available at my disposal today. I feel blessed. So I'm going to finish up this coffee. read. Tilda living life on the edge of her bed. She has so much real estate, but chooses to, I don't know, just sit in the corner. But you know what, to each her own, as long as she's comfy, that's what's important here. Hi guys, and welcome to the end of the vlog. Fantastic news. I finished The Spear That Cuts Through Water, and the author stuck the landing. Every single second of the final act of this book was so freaking good. I was gasping. I was shocked. There was like plot twists, but everything about it still kept the energy of the style of the story. And then the culmination, and then the little snippets that we read from all of these different characters, really capturing that like generation over generation over generation. So much of this book is about the characters, but it's also about the spear and like what passes through time and how we're all still connected. And I love just the humanness of some of the updates we got too. It was emotional and beautiful and compelling. And June and Kima, I love them so much. Like all I want to do is like give them a hug and say, dang, you were so brave and you worked so hard and you deserve rest. You know what I mean? But I loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely one of my favorite books of the year. I was so I loved the reading experience of this. I was just blown away. It was so good. This is one of the most unique books I have ever read. And I hope some element of my excitement about this compels some people to pick this book up, because this is criminally underrated by the amount of reviews and ratings it has on Goodreads. This book is so good. It is so good. But yeah, that's the end of my vlog. I finished this book. I'm gonna be thinking about this book for a long while after finishing this vlog. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.